Hello, everyone. Welcome. So, I am Morgan and just so passionate about the topic we are talking about tonight. And just to share a little bit, we are part of a community called the Wellness Warriors, and we host educational calls and events often. And yeah, the topic hormones was collectively something we all really were passionate about talking about. It's a topic that comes up a lot, obviously, with women. And we feel like there's a lot of confusion and frustration around this topic often. So, where I want to begin is really just first sharing of just an understanding of our hormones, which I think is, for me, was such a huge part of my journey, was really just better understanding my own body. So through each week of our cycle, our brain chemistry shifts and we think, we feel, and we operate differently. I also want to mention, you may want to take notes for some of this. I'll reference where you can find some of this information, but feel free. It's just, I think, really interesting. So we already know and feel this, but without the roadmap, we often feel we are just being hormonal, and we often feel annoyed with ourselves or wrong. How we're showing up in our day-to-day life feels wrong. We're, not doing enough, whether it's socializing or committing to things or exercise or whatever it is. So one of the most important things is really understanding our body, which makes us have so much more compassion for ourselves and just, again, understanding why we need certain things at certain times. And that really brings so much power back to us as women when we can really stand in our truth and what we need. I know many of the women on this call are passionate about that. So something that I think is really interesting is actually that men's hormones operate on a 24-hour circuit, and our hormones operate on a 28-day cycle. So men 24 hours, women 28 days. That's so radically different. So if we're trying to be the same every day, we usually end up feeling very critical of ourselves because we have that expectation and that bar set the same every day, and we show up differently every day. So instead, when we really start using our own rhythm, our own flow, it starts feeling more in flow each day. And we simply really need to just know our own personal pattern, and it's unique to each of us. So really getting in sync with our cycle, it doesn't just make us healthier, but it also lets us really live to our most optimal level, so you can get more done and have more energy to do it, which I think is so powerful. So where I want to dive in next is, how many of you, just a quick raise of hands, knew that we have 4 different cycles as women? Yeah, really interesting. 4. We think we just have our period. So we actually have 4 different cycles. We have the follicular, the ovulation cycle, the luteal, and menstrual. So I'm just going to go through these really quickly and touch on a few key points of how you can really support yourself in these different phases of your cycle. And we go through these every, again, 28 days. So the follicular phase, this is 7 to 10 days. And I'm split these up into kind of different categories, but really where our hormones are at in our follicular stage. And again, if you want to write this down, feel free. Our hormones are at low levels and slowly beginning to increase. So I think that's just something to really just know what's happening in our body. And the overall hormonal effect on the brain is one of openness to new things. So in the follicular stage, we are open to new things, creativity, and new beginnings. Like, that's just so profound to me to know about myself, that season or moment in my life, that's like what I'm feeling inside. And how we show up in work, brainstorming and creativity is high. So really start planning a new creativity project and use this week to think big, set intentions, since you're more open to new experience. Right now, say yes to invites and networking events. Like, if I just, again, it blows my mind if I think each woman really fully understood when she is like really in her flow, we would just be saying yes and no to things in such a different way, especially around how we show up in business and work. For exercise, trying something new to mix up our old routine. So like dance, cardio, S Factor, Zumba are really amazing. Again, it's just trying new things, something that's different, that's going to get you out of your comfort zone. And then food, which is something we'll touch on throughout this whole just webinar, is really the importance of food and plants. So during our follicular stage, fresh, vibrant, light foods make you feel more energized during this phase. So pressed salads like kimchi and sauerkraut, plenty of veggies, lean protein, sprouts, beans, and seeds. We will talk more about seeds. And nutrient dense, energy sustaining grains like buckwheat. So it's just, I think, so interesting that if we really knew what foods we needed to support ourselves, how differently we would be eating. And then the last thing I'll touch on is love, our love life or social life. So I'll mention it again, new things are really important during this time of our phase. So outside events, concerts, plays, museums, rock climbing, a hot air balloon ride, like really getting out of your comfort zone. And new activities really build intimacy and refreshes a relationship. So that is just one phase. And a lot of what I'm referencing is from an app called My Flow. And I'll mention it again, but it's MYFLO. And basically you're able to track your entire cycle in these 4 phases. And they give you recommendations of really how to best support yourself in that phase. Okay, just checking the chat. Okay, so moving on very quickly to ovulation. We all know about this phase. So our hormones during this time are continuing to rise. The verbal and social centers of the brain are stimulated by these hormones this week. So talk about what you want with everyone you talk to. So this is a good time for important conversations, connecting with your community, and enjoy being magnetic. So your magnet is on when you're ovulating. So around work, how we're showing up for work, communication and collaboration flows this week. So present ideas, pitch, sell, negotiate, work in teams, ask for the raise. This is, again, your highest communication skills are at their peak during ovulation. So it's easier to get the message across. Exercise during this time is really HIIT workout classes, boot camp, something like Soul Cycle, group workouts. So really you have energy to burn when you're ovulating. And then food. Again, food is so important. Raw veggies and fruit really help the body metabolize and eliminates any estrogen that is surplus. So that happens a lot when we're ovulating, which is where I think a lot of women, our bodies can feel off. Stick to lighter grains like quinoa and corn. And for your love and social life, really going out to socialize. So like I said, when you're ovulating, your magnet is on. So you just want to be out there in the world, letting everyone feel you. So the next phase, the luteal phase, your hormones hit their highest levels, then begin to fall right before menstruation. So this is the phase before we start our period. Your brain chemistry is optimized this week for task and detail orientation. So bring projects to completion. And PMS is common, which is what creates that is too much estrogen in relation to progesterone production. So the first half of this phase, you have more energy to spend with others. In the second half, you focus more on taking care of yourself. Think about the week before your period. I often, don't take care of myself. And then that's when I get irritated. And really an important place to be that week before is firm boundaries, saying no more often, to really, really take care of yourself and make that a priority. and how you're showing up for work, completing tasks and checking items off your to-do list, carve out large chunks of focused times to do projects and get it done. You love organizing during this time, staying focused, exercise. So for exercising, the first part of the week, lots of energy to burn, super slow strength training or intense yoga. And during the second week, really scaling it back to lighter activities like walking, Pilates, and yin yoga. And then food. Foods rich in vitamin B to really help sugar cravings. So eating dark leafy greens. And when I really found out about the food I am really that support me during this time, it really made so much sense because I was thinking I was craving a lot of sugar, and actually I was craving dark leafy greens and roasted or baked root vegetables. So now I know during this time, I just eat a lot of kale, I eat a lot of sweet potatoes, and it's amazing. I literally do not crave chocolate, and it feels so good to be eating those grounding foods. And our love and social life during that time, really asking a partner to make you dinner or give you flowers, a friend, really pay attention to your inner voice that week before your period. And it's not you being hormonal, which we often, are just like frustrated with ourselves, irritated. It's actually our inner wisdom nudging us that something might not be where you want it to be. So really speaking that out and having permission, whatever you're feeling is just something to look at. Okay, the last phase, our menstrual phase, which we all know about. Our hormone levels decline quickly to their lowest concentrations. So this is creating the greatest communication between our two brain hemispheres, the left analytical side and the right feeling side. So it's important to schedule time for analysis and review and think strategically about where you want to take things, big picture in your life, and allow yourself time to turn inward, to journal, to reflect. I know this is huge for me during that week, is really just wanting to be kind of nesting at home. For work, really evaluating projects and results, reading reports, digging into data, financials, and analyze if you're getting where you want to go. And asking yourself, if not, what do I need to change to get back on track? And then exercise this week. I think we all probably feel this. Energy is at the lowest in the beginning of our period. So things like napping, really light exercise, if that feels good, maybe later in the week, like walking, yin yoga, kundalini, mat Pilates. Something I hear so often for us as women is, that week we're really wanting to show up and do some intense workouts, and it's actually like giving ourselves permission to nap. Like that's okay. Or just go on a walk. Like we don't have to show up the same every day. And then just food. Body is in intense process of menstruation during this time. So foods that add nutrients is key. So proteins, fats, low glycemic, veggies, fruits, really keeping your blood sugar steady. Fiber, antioxidants, things like seafood, seaweed, kelp. They really help remineralize your body with iron and zinc, which we lose a lot of during menstruation. And cooking soups and stews. This is something I actually have really adopted, starting my day with a hot veggie soup. Feels so good on my belly, and I'm getting a bunch of vegetables. So that's a really awesome way to take care of yourself during that time. And then for your love and social life, really, again, time to yourself. If you're with a partner, send them out for a night to themselves, so you can just really rest at home. And if you have kids, it's a great time for them to go have time with other family members or friends, really giving yourself permission to have time for yourself. So that was a lot of information very quickly. And I hope some of it stuck. If not, where you can find basically all this information I just shared is on the app I mentioned, MyFlow, MyFLO. It literally has changed how I look at myself, my body, how I show up in the world. And another amazing book is called Women Code. It's really, really powerful. And a lot of what I've learned about hormones is based on that. Yeah, I think that's everything I was going to share. I'm going to pass it to Ellie to talk a little bit more of just some other ways to really naturally just take care of our hormones.
Thank you so much, Morgan. I love that app too. And I think the biggest thing about hormones and what I took away from what you shared is that our bodies are different, right? At every time of the month. And most of the personal development and health, info out there teaches us to relate to ourselves the same every day. So it's like, do this morning routine, do this exercise routine. And the fact is that at some points in the month, that might work really well, whereas at other times of the month, it just won't. And the more we can learn to tune in with and follow the roadmap, like literally there's a roadmap for our bodies throughout the month. It's so cool. And most of us are just like, I certainly had never been taught this or never learned about it before I really started to learn about hormones and hormone balancing and my menstrual cycle and how to live more in alignment with where my body was at different times of the month. And as I've done that, I've experienced more better mental health. Like I feel more balanced. I feel more like I'm really nurturing myself in a way that works, that's really tuning in. Like I have it blocked out in my calendar when my menstrual cycle is, so that as I'm planning my month, I try to avoid planning, big work events or, nights out over that period, and really try to minimize the amount of socializing and just energy that I'm expending during that time. A few other things about hormones that are really helpful is, number one is sleep. Sleeping is so important for hormone balance, and especially avoiding bright light at nighttime. So this is a big thing, as our society has evolved, we now have screens and we have artificial light and we just have all this stimulus. And so it's really helpful, and that can disrupt our sleep patterns. It can negatively affect our hormones. So one thing to just try is turning off half the lights in your house as it gets dark. So like right now in my office, I have one light turned on, but I don't have my overhead light. In the rest of our house, most of our lights are turned off, and that helps clue your body into the fact that, nighttime's coming, sleep time is coming. And again, helps your body adopt to its natural rhythms. That's what we're trying to do here. Come back to our natural rhythms that modern day living have, if we're living, today, the natural kind of things that are in place, like our screens and our, just the way that we live is usually not in alignment with our body's natural rhythm. So trying to bring consciousness to that and kind of go back to how things used to be. Like we went to bed when it got dark, woke up with the sun. Managing stress is huge. Our adrenaline and cortisol are two hormones that can get really out of whack. And some ways to do that are exercising is huge. As Morgan talked about, it can be different at different times of the month, but getting out and even just walking or, light yoga can be so supportive for managing stress and supporting hormones. Avoiding sugar. This is a huge one, avoiding processed sugar, because insulin is a hormone and it can get really out of whack if we're having processed sugar and having that blood sugar spike and crash. And healthy fats are really supportive. So avocado is really great for hormone health. Flax seeds contain phytoestrogens that are really great. I put those in my smoothie. A few other foods that are supportive are broccoli, which contains a lot of calcium and is great for PMS. Before your period, it's great. You can just like steam a bunch of broccoli and eat it with some, salt and olive oil. It's really, really supportive. Pomegranate, and any like really nutrient, colorful berry is really great. And leafy greens are really supportive for hormones and help lower stress and balance estrogen in the body. Nuts are great because they contain omega-3s. They're great for brain health and function. And soy, lastly, soy in its unprocessed form. So edamame, non-GMO tofu, a good soy protein powder that's, minimally processed and GMO free are all really great. And there's a lot of misinformation out there about soy. And it's, it's been painted as this like food to stay away from. And when it's processed and GMO, it's not good for us. But in its pure form, soy is a very supportive food for our health and hormones and athletic performance, so many things. It's high fiber. So is anyone feeling overwhelmed? I know this is a lot. Yeah, Veronica's like ferociously taking notes. So I'm going to share next about something that my family discovered 15 years ago that for me has helped bridge the gap. It's like I know what I've learned a lot about health. I hear what I'm supposed to be doing. I do my best to do, eat and do what we just talked about. And I am nowhere near perfect. Some days, the only veggies I get are, a little bit of spinach in my smoothie in the morning. And then it's like, I don't even know where the day went. And I know there are a lot of people out there like that. That's part of why we as women are struggling so much with balancing hormones, is because we live such busy, fast-paced lives, and self-care is a challenge in today's world. So 15 years ago, my mom was introduced to a company that figured out how to take 30 different plant foods, blend them up, dehydrate them, and concentrate them into capsules. So every day I'm able to get beets, broccoli, kale, spinach, cabbage, 10 different berries, 10 different fruits in a really convenient way. So it's called Juice Plus. I'm just going to hold it up. There's a vegetable blend, a berry blend, and a fruit blend, and a vegan omega. And this is what it looks like. So it's in a capsule. So it's really convenient. It's easy to swallow. I take them every morning, and I'm able to flood my body with plant foods every day. And, I did not grow up on a plant-based diet. I wish I had, but I did not. I grew up in the 90s. We were eating white bread and Pop-Tarts. And, we had vegetables, but we were not thriving with our health. And when this came into our life, it was a no-brainer. My whole family got on it, and it has completely helped change the picture of our health over the last 15 years. My sister, her focus and concentration improved so much because it's so great for brain health that she was able to go off of her ADD meds. I got off allergy meds. It totally helped heal my gut health, my digestion, and no one in my family has been on antibiotics for 15 years. And my skin glows, if I do say so myself. And I will take it forever. I love it. I tell everyone I meet about it. It's just a brilliant concept to me. I don't know where I would be without it. And I think everyone deserves to know about it. I don't know why everyone doesn't go on it, but it's their individual choice. But to me, it's just a no-brainer. And the vegan omega is different plant and seed oils, algae, really good for hormones, really good for brain health, skin, hair. And I'll just share, I was on hormonal birth control from age 16 to 28, on and off. I wasn't on it, the whole time, but pretty much I was on it, the majority of those years. And last year, I started to learn about my cycle. And listen, I have nothing against hormonal birth control. I think if this is just what I'm going to say about it, if it's, for me, it was worth if you're going to have more anxiety being off hormonal birth control, it's worth being on it, in my view. And that was my choice. You know, I knew it probably wasn't the best for my body, but for my mental health, it really helped me to be on it and not be afraid of pregnancy and unwanted pregnancy. So that's what I'm going to just say about that. I have no other opinion on it. All I know is for me, last year, I started to learn more about natural ways to balance hormones and about, you know, tracking my cycle. And I made the choice that I no longer wanted to be on hormonal birth control. And I had heard that when you go off of it, after being on it that long, it can take months and sometimes years for your cycle to regulate. And the birth control can be covering up, you know, underlying symptoms. And so it's, you know, it can be a process to regulate after getting off of it. So I went off my birth control thinking, you know, what's going to happen? I don't know, you know, are my hormones balanced, all this stuff. My period came back the next month without skipping a beat. And I know that that's because I've been on Juice Plus for 15 years. Having those plant foods every day going into my body, helping regulate my whole system. And I have a totally healthy cycle, and I've seen so many women, and we're going to hear from Carly, who have all kinds of hormone issues, like aren't getting their period, haven't for years, or they're having infertility, or they're having, you know, all period issues. Like there's so many things women are dealing with now. And I've worked with many, many women who have gotten on these capsules and the shakes. I didn't even mention the shakes. We have a delicious whole food shake mix made from lots of different proteins, including whole food, really clean soy. And this I've been drinking at least one, sometimes two a day for the last 15 years also. And so I know the combination, it was a big contributor to the fact that my cycle, you know, was able to be so regular. And I've seen many, many women heal whatever they needed to heal to get back to their body functioning optimally and having a healthy system. So I'd love you to share, Carly, your story and your experience with Juice Plus.
Totally. So thank you guys. I was that girl. So I was on birth control from 16 to 25 and didn't really have any knowledge about why not to be on it. And so it was, again, a peace of mind for me to be on it. And then I just started filling myself with as much holistic, natural knowledge and knew I immediately wanted to get off. And with that, I did not have my period for 2.5 years, like a full 2.5 years, nothing at all. And I felt like my body was wanting to. It was wanting to have a cycle, and I was wanting it to. I wanted to release everything in there. I wanted to be able to track my body, know what was happening with myself so I could be better out in the world, like some things Morgan and Ellie have shared. All of those tips are so true. And so, I mean, it's just so empowering when we know like ourselves and our cycle and where we're at, how we can function better with everyone around us. So I really wanted that for myself. I was doing all this other work and I just wasn't having my cycle. And I went to the midwife, and I feel like I had every test done possible, all this blood work, and she came back and said, you're perfectly healthy. This is really strange that you don't have your cycle. And I was like, well, yeah, like this isn't healthy. You know, this is the main thing of my body. So I went to a natural response testing. And It's kind of where they can see what the weakest organs are in your body, and they can test different foods and supplements and vitamins to see how you specifically react to it. And I did that for a year. Nothing, no cycle, no sign. Like, thought I was going to get the period, never showed up. I'm like, okay. And then Morgan was in town, and we did an event together, and she introduced Juice Plus, and it literally was just divine timing. It was right when a 10-day healthy restart was about to begin. And I just went all in. I was ready for it, and I think did it just about with no mistakes. And so I had no eggs, no gluten. And I really kind of doing some research on eggs. I think eggs was a huge benefit to me, that just the strep and the mucus that the eggs cause and can react with the things that was happening. So I did the reboot, and literally the end of November, I got my period, my first period in 2.5 years. So I did a shred, had all 4 capsules, I believe, right away in me. I was doing the shakes and was just feeling so good. And that was in November of last year. So, and it's definitely been a journey since. I haven't had the period every month. But I more and more I'm getting it. I'm just irregular. I'm between like 32 days and like 50 days, but I am getting the cycle, and I 100% think Juice Plus instigated all of this. I mean, I know it has, and it completely veered to not eating any meat, which I think plays a big role in the women's hormones. And it just really changed what I was craving and what I want to eat, which would be the more leafy greens, the seeds, just better quality of food to be serving our bodies. So yeah, I still am just like on this journey of watching my body and my cycles and myself. And I really am sensitive to just about everything, like literally. So yeah, I just am really paying attention to myself. And something else I'd like to share too that really has helped me, I think, with some PMS stuff and just kind of feeling out those different cycles like Morgan talked about is, so I use Young Living essential oils, and there's an oil called Progestins Plus. And I use this, I put a dab on my wrist or on my ears, and it's just amazing. My mom uses it for a lot of menopause, and she was recommended this along with a book called Taming the Dragon. And it's literally about balancing women's hormones with essential oils. And it is life-changing just to read the book. I learned so much just about, it's literally a dragon within us, the hormones, the women's hormones. So if we are not taking care of them with all of these different resources we've talked about tonight, it can be scary to what can really happen to us. So yeah, I think it's just amazing that we had this call tonight. I love Morgan and Ellie providing this for us, because I think so many women lack this knowledge, and I think it's so important. There's so many different things that can be happening because of birth control or not because of birth control. And then when we get off, and the infertility and just all of those things. So yeah, I think the human system is the thing we don't even know that well. And we only have one. So yeah, we got to spend all this time learning about it. So yeah, that's all I have. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Carly.
Thank you, Carly. Yeah, so powerful. And to hear, both of you having that experience, Ellie, yourself, and Carly, with your period. Yeah, I'm a coach, so I hear from all the women I work with that hormones is one of the biggest struggles. So anyways, to wrap things up, thank you all so much for joining us, either live or on the recording. We hope really that after listening to this, you will think about a few things. First, and just the importance of understanding your body, tracking your cycle is such a huge part of just hormone health. And secondly, really just the importance of adding more fresh fruits and vegetables and plants into your diet to really help balance those hormones. So we'd love for you to think about anyone, including yourself, that might benefit from hearing about the power of plants and how they can heal the body. I know tonight we touched on hormones. Obviously, plants can impact all areas of our health. And then also, if you're interested in learning more about our community, the Wellness Warriors, we're happy to chat. We do educational calls and events every month, and we're looking for women to really lock arms with to share this mission, either as a side hustle or full-time. So there's lots of opportunity here, and I hope at least you took one pearl of wisdom. I know there is a lot. And if you have any questions, just get with the person that invited you. Thank you, ladies. Thank you all so much.
Morgan.
Have a good night.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks for everyone who listened. So good to see your face, Veronica.
Thank you. Mwah. Thank
Bye.
you.